Hey everyone, in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a movie of your narrative input chart to use with your class digitally. Now you can use this with any teaching scenario where your inputs for whole class instruction will be delivered asynchronously, whether that might be distance learning situation or a hybrid model in a flipped classroom where your students will be watching pre-recorded lessons for their whole class instruction, or this will even work in small groups if you have, say, different groups of students working on different stories. Now, if you haven't seen any of our other tutorials yet, my name is Jody Bader.
And I'm Sarah Martinez. We're Project Glad consultants and trainers from Washington State. Welcome to this short video tutorial on using a Project Glad strategy online. As you watch, feel free to reach out and connect with us or get some more tips from our website. You'll see the link below, nextstepsprojectglad.com. Enjoy.
All right, so the narrative input chart is a favorite strategy for many of us. It teaches content through a story format that is filled with academic vocabulary. When Sarah and I facilitate GLAD trainings, we always model for teachers what a narrative input chart is before we go through the key points and the design features. So if you're creating a digital narrative, here's what it might look like.
Please, Mama, please tell us the story about Grandma and the endless fields of milkweed plants again, pleaded Molly and Mickey Monarch as they fluttered among the flowers in the meadow. Mama Monarch sighed and said, "Okay, children, let's rest our wings on this lovely flower while we soak up some bright sunshine, and I will tell you the story one more time." So they landed on the flowers and Mama Monarch began.
Okay, so let's talk about what you're seeing here. The design features of this narrative are very intentional. I want to recreate an almost identical experience that students would have if they were watching and listening to this narrative in person. So first of all, I've chosen a background picture that gives a sense of the setting of the story. So in this case, our story is about the life cycle of the butterfly, and our setting is a field of milkweed. Next, each picture is shown large enough for easy viewing during the storytelling, but it then transitions to a smaller size to be placed in order on the background. This is a really important piece of the narrative that we don't want to lose sight of, even though we're creating a digital version. Later activities that you will do with the narrative input chart include story retells and story mapping, and these all rely on being able to see the chronological order of the story. So the design of this video copies the way that we would do the narrative in person by showing the class the picture and reading the text that we've placed on the back of the picture, and then posting it on the background in story order. We also see a screencast of the teacher delivering the story. This is also an important and intentional part of the video design so that you can continue to add comprehensibility by using a storytelling voice and adding gestures just like you would do in person. Are you ready to learn how to create a narrative just like this one? Well, believe it or not, I did the whole thing in PowerPoint. Yes. Now, even though there are some really great online tools and apps for remote teaching, I've been finding recently that I really just want to keep things simple, and just about any lesson that I need to deliver, I can do it from a slide deck. I use PowerPoint, I use Keynote, and Google Slides. Now, they all have basically the same features, but there are some key features that make each one special for certain types of functions. And for PowerPoint, it's the recent update of the morph transition that makes it ideal for delivering digital narratives. So let me show you how to do it. We'll start by opening a slide deck. Now we need to create a background that will be consistent on all our slides. So I'm clicking on Design, and then I'm going over to Format Background. I will choose Picture or Texture Fill, and then I want to insert my own picture. Once I've found it, I'm going to go to the bottom and click Apply All. Now, when I add each new slide to the presentation, it will automatically have this background. So back on the first slide, I will insert my first picture in the story. I always have my narrative pictures selected ahead of time and numbered, so the order is easy to see when I am inserting them. So I'm clicking on Insert, choose a picture, find the right number, and click Insert. So I'm going to choose how large I want the picture to be and where on the slide I will place it. Okay, now here's where the magic happens. I'm going over to the sidebar. I'm going to copy and paste it so it is duplicated. Now I work on a Mac, so the shortcut keys are Command C and then Command V. And on the second slide, notice that's the one that now has been duplicated. I'm resizing how I want it to end up on the background. I'm going up to Transitions and Morph. This creates a link between the two slides, and anything resized or moved on that second slide fantastically moves into that new position. Now, the second slide that now has the small picture will also need to be duplicated. So copy and paste it on slide 3 and insert the next picture for your story. Size it large for the telling part of the story. Resize it on your slide. And now I'm going to duplicate this slide and resize it small and place it next to picture number 1 on the storyboard. Then go up to Transitions, add the Morph transition. And we're going to continue on. Now, through the magic of television, we have all of our slides created. And at this point, you're going to want to play your slideshow to make sure that all your transitions work. But for the purposes here, I can tell you that they do. So I purposefully left the lower left corner open because that's where I'm going to now add my storyteller video. So that's our next step. For this part, I just opened a Zoom and I recorded myself telling the story. I have the actual narrative cards from the physical narrative and I taped them up on my screen near my webcam so that I could read the story, and the camera picked up that I was generally looking in the lens. I also added my milkweed field in my virtual background options, and that just helped me blend in a little bit with my background. It's kind of fun. You don't have to do this part. I thought it was kind of a fun part though. Now for other narratives that I've created, I've also just filmed myself on my phone reading the story. And if you're not using a webcam that has good lighting built in, you'll want to take the camera angle and the lighting into account for the best video quality. You don't really have to have any fancy equipment. Natural light is the best. So if you can set yourself up in front of a window, that would work great. Now, one tip that I'll give you for filming a narrative story, either from Zoom or from your phone, is to record each part of the story as a separate clip. You're going to be inserting each part of the story on its own slide. And if you don't want to have to hassle with any kind of video editing software, it's really going to help streamline your process if you have separate clips. So in Zoom, you can hit the record and the stop recording button as many times as you need to. Don't hit the pause, hit the record and stop recording. So then when you hit end meeting, all of those separate clips will convert and you'll be able to use them in different parts of your story. A tip for storing the clips is to number them the same way that you would on the back of your physical narrative card. And it's going to help you find what you're looking for when you insert, which is what we're doing now. So on the slides that have the large picture, this happens to be picture number 2 in the story. I went up to insert and then over to the video to select the movie from the file. I'll find the folder where I have it stored and click insert. It will overlay the whole slide, but use the slide markers to resize it and move it where you want it. If you find that your face is rather too small for a storyteller, you can crop it by going up to the crop and using the selector bars to resize. And when you're done, just hit return. And then that is now going to be the new boundaries of the picture. And when you click on it now, you can resize it and make your face bigger. You can also change the shape of the box in your video by going up to the crop tool and selecting video shape. There's all sorts of options over here, and we're just gonna pick this round shape. And now my storyteller is in a different shaped box. Once everything is in place on your slides, the final step is to turn this PowerPoint presentation into a self-playing movie. We're going to be in the slideshow tab for this. And now I'm going to click on rehearsed timings. So what this will allow you to do is to click through your slideshow at the appropriate pace so that your storyteller says everything for that slide. And then you'll click to the next transition, click for the storyteller for the next slide, and so on. So if you were doing this as a PowerPoint presentation in person, you would have to be doing all of the clicking or have set your transitions to come one right after the other. Now, in this view, we can see that the slide on the left is what is currently playing, and the slide on the right gives you a preview of what's coming up. There's a counter in the top corner that is the timing of how long you are spending on each slide, and that's going to be important for our next step. When you get to the end, click End Show, and then you'll be prompted to save the new timings and click Yes. Now, the last step is to go up to File and scroll down to Export. You have a choice of formats, and to save it as a movie, you would choose an MOV or an MP4. We can see here that the Use Recorded Timing and Narration is selected, and that's why we went through the process of setting those timings so that each slide and storytelling portion will play correctly. Choose where you want to save it and click Export. Now you will have a movie of your narrative input chart to upload into your LMS and use with large or small groups. Thanks for watching. More information about accessing the full strategy video of the narrative or our online coaching program can be found at nextstepsprojectglad.com/path to proficiency.